The night was quiet, only the hum of the fridge filling the silence, when Michael's phone buzzed across the wooden table, glowing in the dark kitchen. He reached lazily, expecting another late email from Sarah, but the words froze him mid-breath. "I miss you already, can't wait until tomorrow," the text read, and the blood drained from his face. His hand trembled as he scrolled, each new message striking harder than the last. "He'll never find out," one read, cruel and cold, twisting like a dagger. His chest tightened as Emily's voice echoed in his memory, saying only hours ago, "Don't stay up too late, love." The betrayal stared back at him in bright letters. He could almost hear Daniel's name between the lines, though it wasn't written. His throat closed, whispering, "Emily, why?" His body slumped against the chair, his life unraveling one glowing message at a time. Michael sat frozen, the phone screen burning into his mind. Every message sliced deeper, replaying Emily's excuses, late nights, unfamiliar perfume, the hollow phrase, "It's just work." His breath rattled as he whispered, "How long, Emily?" Rage burned, but love still clung desperately. Sarah's earlier call drifted back. She had warned softly, "Something feels off, Michael." He had brushed it aside, blinded by trust. Now the truth roared louder than his denial. He pressed his forehead against the table, his voice cracking. "I trusted you." The clock ticked above, its rhythm cruel and steady, mocking his blindness. Michael dragged his hand across his damp face, the truth gnawing him raw. He thought of Emily's laugh, of nights tangled in promises that now felt poison. Love chained him still, though betrayal had already broken him. He muttered, "Why wasn't I enough?" His mind conjured Daniel's face, a shadow from work, always around, always charming. Was it him? The thought clawed deep. He clenched his fists, trembling, torn between fury and despair. His heart whimpered, begging for denial, but the storm inside had no mercy. Michael's eyes fixed on the photo from their last trip, Emily's arms wrapped around him, both smiling in sunlight. He whispered bitterly, "How many smiles were lies?" The memory clashed with her recent words, "You're all I'll ever need." His fist struck the couch arm, anger crackling in his veins. The room blurred under the weight of betrayal. He imagined Sarah's voice, gentle but firm, "You can't ignore the signs forever." His jaw tightened. The lies were unraveling. The life he built with Emily teetered on the edge of collapse. The night dragged, suffocating in silence. Michael paced the living room, each step heavy, chest burning with unanswered questions. Was Emily with him now? Did she laugh the same with Daniel as she once laughed with him? Rage boiled, but beneath it was emptiness, a hollow wound. He pressed his palms to his face, hot tears streaming through fingers. "I don't deserve this," he muttered, but the words felt powerless. In his mind, Jacob's innocent laughter replayed from a family dinner weeks ago. Collateral damage, unknowing, undeserving. Michael's shoulders shook as he realized this betrayal wasn't his alone. It would ripple into lives around him. Morning light seeped through the blinds as Michael sat at the edge of the bed, staring at the phone in his hands. The evidence was undeniable, yet his heart begged him to erase it and pretend. Emily's voice echoed in his mind, her smile still warm in his memory, but the messages burned hotter than any flame. He whispered, "I thought we were forever." His mind replayed Sarah's cautionary words, her tone soft yet firm, "You need to face what's happening." The weight of those words pressed heavier now. Michael's chest tightened as he pictured Jacob's innocent laughter, oblivious to the storm tearing through their lives. He clenched his jaw, knowing he couldn't carry this pain alone much longer. The truth gnawed, demanding to be spoken, and silence no longer felt safe. Michael forced himself into the kitchen, his movements slow, each step dragging the weight of betrayal. The smell of coffee lingered, but it only reminded him of Emily's laughter, over shared mornings now tainted with deceit. He poured a cup, hands trembling, and sat staring at the steam as though it might carry answers. Memories flickered of Emily saying sweetly, "Don't worry, love. I'll always be honest with you." The words now stung like venom. He imagined Daniel's voice, sly and confident, slipping into the spaces that once belonged to him. His grip on the cup tightened until it threatened to shatter. The world he thought he knew had turned foreign, and trust felt like a relic. Michael couldn't endure silence anymore, so he called Sarah. His voice cracked as he said, "I think she's lying to me." There was a pause, then her voice came through, heavy with worry. "Michael, what did you find?" He hesitated, then whispered about the messages, his chest tightening with each word. Sarah's sigh carried the weight of someone who feared this moment for too long. "I didn't want to tell you, but I suspected something," she admitted, her voice trembling. The confession struck him like a second betrayal. Rage mingled with despair, his heart breaking under the truth he had long refused to see. Later that day, Michael met Sarah at a quiet cafe. She reached for his hand, her eyes soft, filled with pain for him. "I didn't want to hurt you, but I think you need to see clearly," she said gently. Michael swallowed hard, his voice breaking. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" She looked down, shame tugging her features. "Because I hoped I was wrong. I prayed I was wrong." Michael's chest burned with conflicting emotions. Anger at her silence, gratitude for her honesty, sorrow for the life he thought was whole. The air between them grew thick, the unspoken truth pressing against them both. Michael returned home that evening, his body drained. Emily stood in the living room, her smile cautious as she asked, "Rode?" The sound of her voice cut through him like glass. He forced a nod, but inside, storms raged. He studied her, the way she avoided his eyes, the faint tension in her shoulders. His chest ached as he remembered her laughter, her promises, now hollow. "You're home early," she said lightly, though her tone betrayed unease. He clenched his jaw, biting back the urge to confront her. Instead, he whispered coldly, "Yeah, just needed to be here." The silence after his words was deafening, her presence both comfort and torment. Michael sat in the dim living room late at night, the silence interrupted by the faint buzz of Emily's phone on the counter. She hurried in, grabbing it quickly before he could glance, offering only a stiff smile. "Work again," she muttered, tucking it away. But Michael had seen her reflection in the glass door earlier, her lips curved in a smile not meant for him. His chest tightened, heart pounding as he asked, "Who was that?" She avoided his gaze, replying sharply, "No one that matters." The words sliced deeper than she realized. Michael leaned back, his fists tightening against the couch cushion, doubt creeping like poison through every vein. The following evening, Michael drove past Emily's office. Her car wasn't there. His grip tightened on the steering wheel as he circled the block. A few streets over, he spotted it outside a dimly lit restaurant. Through the glass, he saw her laughing, her hand brushing against Daniel's arm as they leaned close. His stomach churned as rage and heartbreak clashed inside him. He pulled over, staring until his vision blurred. "So it is him," he whispered, each word trembling. The laughter that once gave him life now suffocated him, its echoes poisoned by betrayal. Later that night, Emily slipped quietly into the house, her footsteps soft, avoiding Michael's gaze. He sat waiting in the darkened living room, voice low. "Working late?" She froze, then forced a smile. "Yeah, long meeting." He leaned forward, eyes locked on hers. "Funny, I saw your car by the restaurant." Her face flickered with panic before she composed herself. "You're imagining things," she said firmly. His jaw clenched, fury rising, but her calm facade made him question himself. She kissed his cheek and whispered, "You need to trust me." He sat frozen, her perfume lingering, but this time it no longer smelled like comfort, it smelled like lies. Michael called Sarah the next morning, his voice heavy. "I saw her with him." Sarah's silence confirmed his worst fears. Finally she whispered, "Michael, I didn't want to say anything, but I've noticed it too." His breath caught in his chest. "You knew?" Her voice cracked. "I hoped I was wrong." Rage flared through him, not at Sarah, but at the realization that even those closest had seen what he chose to ignore. He dropped the phone onto the couch, burying his head in his hands. The truth was circling tighter, and denial was no longer a shield. That evening, Michael opened a drawer in their bedroom and found a receipt tucked between folded clothes. A dinner for two at the same restaurant he had seen. His breath hitched, fury igniting as he clenched the slip in his hand. Emily entered moments later, her eyes widening as she saw it. "It's not what you think," she said quickly, voice trembling. Michael held it up, his voice low and sharp. "Then what is it?" Her silence screamed louder than any excuse. He dropped the receipt on the bed, turning away, his chest burning with betrayal. The truth was no longer creeping. It was here. Michael's hands shook as he followed the address Sarah had whispered to him, her voice thick with regret. The night air was heavy, street lamps flickering faintly as he parked across from a small townhouse. His chest pounded as he watched Emily's familiar car already in the driveway. A single light glowed from the upstairs window, and shadows moved across the curtain. Two figures, too close, too comfortable. His throat tightened as his worst fear took shape before his eyes. He whispered, "Please, let this be wrong." But deep down, he already knew. The moments they had built together, dinners, laughter, whispered promises, all burned away in that instant. He gripped the steering wheel so tight, his knuckles ached, his vision swimming with fury and sorrow. Every breath he took was laced with betrayal. The next morning, Michael confronted the truth head-on. Emily walked into the kitchen humming softly, but her tune faltered when she saw him sitting still, phone in hand. He placed it on the table, the messages glowing on screen. "How long, Emily?" he asked, voice low, steady but shaking beneath. She froze, her face paling, lips parting without words. "I gave you everything," he continued, eyes burning. She whispered, "Michael, I can explain." But he cut her off, slamming his hand on the table. "Explain how you let him into our life. Explain how you looked at me every night." Tears brimmed in his eyes, rage and heartbreak colliding. Michael's voice cracked as he demanded, "Was it Daniel?" The name shattered the air like glass. Emily's silence was answer enough. Her eyes welled, her shoulders sagged, guilt written across every inch of her. "He was there for me when you weren't," she whispered, her voice brittle. Michael's chest exploded with grief. "When I wasn't, I gave you everything I had, Emily." His fists clenched at his sides, veins straining. She sobbed, "I didn't mean for it to happen, it just did." He shook his head violently, stepping back as though her presence burned. "No, you chose this. You chose him." The betrayal was undeniable now, raw and suffocating. Michael stormed into the bedroom, yanking open drawers. "Where are the lies hidden, Emily? In here too." He pulled out a shirt of hers, then a note slipped free, landing on the floor. He froze, eyes narrowing as he picked it up. The handwriting wasn't hers. It was Daniel's. His chest constricted as he read, "Can't wait to escape with you again." His legs trembled, the final nail driven into his heart. Emily rushed in, eyes wide, whispering, "Please, don't read it." He turned on her, voice breaking. "How many lies does it take to destroy a man?" His knees buckled, but his rage held him upright. Michael stumbled backward, his world caving in. He saw flashes in his mind, Emily's laughter with Daniel, Sarah's warnings, Jacob's innocent smile at family dinners. It all collided into one unbearable storm. His voice cracked as he whispered, "You shattered everything, Emily." She wept, reaching for him, but he pulled away. The distance between them was now an unbridgeable chasm. He turned toward the door, chest heaving, as silence swallowed the house. Emily collapsed onto the couch, sobbing, clutching her face in shame. Michael's tears fell freely, but his resolve hardened. There was no going back. The truth had been revealed. The night erupted with fury as Michael returned hours later, storming into the house. Emily sat upright, startled by the sound of the door slamming. "We're not done," Michael growled, his voice sharp and raw. She stood, tears already streaking her face. "Please, just listen." "Listen," he roared. "I listened to you every night, every lie you fed me while you were with him." His hands shook as his words cut the air. She stepped closer, whispering, "I still love you." He laughed bitterly, his voice breaking. "Love? You killed that word." The weight of their world shattered in those moments, no escape from the truth. Michael's chest heaved as Emily whispered, "I was lonely, Michael." His eyes widened, rage flaring hotter. "Lonely? With me? With all I gave you?" His voice cracked like thunder. She sobbed, "I didn't plan it, it just happened with Daniel." He slammed his hand against the wall, the sound echoing like a gunshot. "Don't you dare justify it." His tears fell, each one dripping with betrayal. He staggered back, pressing his palms to his face, groaning, "Why wasn't I enough?" The house seemed to tremble with the force of their unraveling lives. Emily reached out, voice trembling. "I never stopped loving you." Michael recoiled, his laugh hollow. "You don't get to say that. Love doesn't stab in the back." His chest rose with fury as he stepped closer, eyes burning with both rage and grief. "Every time you touched him, you killed me a little more." She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing uncontrollably, whispering, "I'm sorry." He shook his head, tears spilling freely. "Sorry doesn't fix shattered lives. Sorry doesn't erase Daniel from our bed." The words slashed through her like knives, her sobs shaking the walls. The confrontation reached its peak. Michael's voice thundered, "Do you even realize what you've done?" Emily's sobs filled the silence, her body trembling. He pointed toward the family photos on the wall. Jacob's innocent smile, Sarah's supportive gaze. "You didn't just betray me, you betrayed everyone who loved us." His voice cracked, veins straining on his neck. Emily whispered brokenly, "I know. I ruined everything." Michael's shoulders sagged as fury melted into devastation. His voice lowered, hollow and sharp. "No, you ruined me." Silence hung heavy after the storm. Michael stood trembling, chest hollow, eyes fixed on Emily's broken form. She whispered faintly, "Can we fix this?" His lips parted, voice cold, final. "No, Emily, there's no fixing betrayal." He turned toward the door, his tears falling freely, but his back straightened with each step. Emily collapsed fully, clutching herself, sobbing. Michael's hand lingered on the doorknob before he whispered the words that sealed their fate. "You didn't think I'd find out, did you?" The house fell silent, heartbreak echoing in every corner. Michael spent the next morning in silence, the house echoing with absence. Emily was gone when he woke, her scent lingering faintly on the pillow like a cruel ghost. He sat at the kitchen table, coffee untouched, staring at the empty chair where she once laughed. Memories flickered, her smile over breakfast, Jacob's laughter at the counter, Sarah's worried eyes when she visited. All of it felt poisoned now. His heart screamed, but his voice was hollow as he whispered, "It's over." The clock ticked steadily, each second dragging him further into the void. The consequences were no longer abstract. He was alone, and the life he knew had collapsed. Later, Sarah arrived, her face etched with worry. She found Michael sitting in the living room, shoulders hunched, phone face down on the table. "You don't have to carry this alone," she said gently, sitting beside him. He shook his head, voice trembling. "I don't even know who I am without her." Sarah placed a hand over his, eyes glistening. "You're my brother. You're stronger than this." He closed his eyes, the weight of her words pressing against his grief. For the first time, a small thread of hope tried to weave itself into his shattered heart, though the pain still roared louder. News spread quickly. Michael returned to work and felt the weight of whispers, Daniel's absence more telling than words. Colleagues avoided his eyes, pity etched across their faces. He sat at his desk, hands still, staring blankly at the screen. Emily had crossed not only their love, but also the fabric of his world, entangling betrayal with his career. The humiliation stung deeper than he imagined. He thought of Jacob, too innocent to understand, and the ripple of damage spread further in his chest. He clenched his jaw, whispering, "He doesn't even deserve her." The anger kept him breathing when grief threatened to drown him. Days passed, the silence between Michael and Emily stretching like a canyon. She had moved into her sister's, and when they finally spoke, her voice over the phone was faint, broken. "I'm sorry, Michael. I never wanted to destroy you." His throat tightened. "You didn't just destroy me. You destroyed us, everything." She sobbed quietly, but he remained still, cold. The call ended with no closure, only echoes of pain. Michael sat in the dark, the phone heavy in his hand, tears falling silently as he realized some wounds would never close. Michael visited Sarah a week later, Jacob bounding through the hallway with innocent laughter. The boy hugged him tightly, unaware of the storm tearing his uncle's life apart. Michael knelt, forcing a small smile, ruffling Jacob's hair. In that moment, he realized the true cost of betrayal. It wasn't just his heartbreak, but the ripple into lives, untouched by choice. Sarah watched, her eyes filled with pride and sorrow. Michael stood, voice low but firm. "This won't break me, Sarah, not forever." It was the first time he believed his own words, those scars still burned inside. Michael stood before the mirror, gripping the sink tightly as the faucet dripped rhythmically. His reflection looked older than he remembered, as if betrayal had carved new lines across his face overnight. He studied the redness in his eyes, the hollowness in his cheeks, and for a long moment, he didn't recognize himself. The man in the mirror wasn't the same one who laughed beside Emily at dinners, or played with Jacob in the park. He was broken, but alive. His chest heaved as memories stabbed at him, Emily whispering forever, Daniel's shadow over every secret meeting, Sarah's words urging him to see clearly. For weeks, he had drowned in grief, but now, standing here, a flicker of strength pushed through. He straightened, voice low and firm, "I am not what you broke." His jaw tightened, and for the first time since it all began, he believed those words. The reflection staring back wasn't just pain. It was resilience clawing its way out of the wreckage. Emily stood at her sister's doorstep, suitcase beside her, shoulders slumped. Her eyes were swollen from nights of endless tears, her hands shaking as she fumbled with her phone. No one was there to greet her now. No Michael waiting with open arms, no laughter filling the air. She whispered into the cold evening, "I ruined it all." Her sister let her in quietly. No judgment, only silence that weighed heavier than words. Emily sank into the couch, clutching her knees to her chest, tears streaming freely. Her mind replayed every lie she had told Michael. "I'm just working late. You're all I need. Nothing's wrong." Each echoed like a cruel reminder that the life she had thrown away was gone forever. She pictured Michael's face, the moment his voice broke when he asked, "How long?" Her heart twisted. She had gambled love for fleeting temptation, and the loss was permanent. The world she built with him was gone, and in its place was only regret. Michael met Sarah at the park days later, the air crisp with late afternoon sun. Jacob ran across the grass, his laughter rising like a bomb against the darkness in Michael's heart. Sarah sat beside him on the bench, her hand resting on his arm. "You're stronger than you think," she said softly. Michael nodded faintly, eyes locked on Jacob. "He deserves to grow up without this kind of pain," he whispered. Sarah's gaze softened, her eyes shining with pride. "And he will because you are still here, because you'll show him what resilience looks like." Michael exhaled, a breath that felt lighter than any in weeks. He whispered, "I won't let betrayal define me. Not anymore." Jacob's laughter carried on the wind, and for the first time, Michael felt the possibility of peace brushing against his chest. The scars remained, but they no longer dictated his every breath. One evening, Michael walked past the cafe where he and Emily once shared their mornings. Through the wide window, he saw her sitting alone at a corner table, hands wrapped around a cold coffee cup. Her eyes were hollow, her posture broken. For a moment, their gazes met. Hers brimmed with guilt, pleading silently, while his carried quiet finality. He did not stop. He did not enter. He simply kept walking, steps steady, chest firm. Emily's eyes followed him until he disappeared from view, her tears dripping into the untouched cup. For Michael, that moment was the final thread snapping. He realized dignity wasn't reclaimed through confrontation, but through refusal to give betrayal power over him any longer. The man who once clung to love now walked away from its ghost, stronger than before. Back home, Michael stood at the front doorway, the house quiet and still. He looked out at the empty street, his voice low but unwavering as he whispered, "You didn't think I'd find out, did you?" The silence answered him, heavy yet freeing. He stepped inside, closing the door gently behind him. The house no longer felt like a prison. It was his sanctuary now, filled with scars but also with his own strength. He knew the betrayal would never fade completely. Its wounds had carved deep, but it no longer defined him. He had survived the lies, the humiliation, the collapse. And though he stood alone, he stood taller than before. The story ended, not with reconciliation or revenge, but with quiet resilience, the kind that lingers long after heartbreak fades. His final thought echoed like a vow: never again would he let someone's lies steal his worth.